Welcome to Scary Stories, the YouTube channel that brings you the most bone-chilling tales of horror and the supernatural. In today's story, we bring you the tale of a group of teenagers who decided to explore an old, abandoned house that had always been a source of mystery and fear for their town. Little did they know that they were about to experience a haunting that would change their lives forever. Join us as we take you on a journey into the heart of darkness, and uncover the terrifying secrets of the haunted house. So, turn off the lights, grab a blanket, and get ready to be scared out of your wits. This is the story of the haunted house. The old, abandoned house had always been a source of mystery and fear for the townspeople. They whispered about the strange noises that emanated from within its walls and the eerie glow that sometimes shone from its upper windows at night. One day, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to explore the house. They crept up the overgrown path and pushed open the creaky door, their flashlights barely penetrating the thick darkness inside. As they made their way through the dusty, cobweb-filled rooms, they heard strange noises that seemed to come from all around them. Doors creaked open and shut on their own, and the floorboards groaned under their feet. Suddenly, one of the teenagers let out a blood-curdling scream. The others rushed to where she stood, frozen in fear, and saw a shadowy figure looming in the corner of the room. It was tall and twisted, with long, spindly fingers that reached out to grab them. They turned to flee, but the door slammed shut behind them, trapping them inside. They screamed and pounded on the door, but it wouldn't budge. That's when they heard the laughter. A low, sinister chuckle echoed through the house. They turned to face the figure, but it was gone. The laughter grew louder, filling the room until it felt like it was coming from inside their heads. And then, suddenly, everything was quiet. The laughter stopped, the figure vanished, and the door swung open with a soft creak. The teenagers stumbled outside, shaken but unharmed. But as they looked back at the house, they could see the shadowy figure standing in the window, watching them. And they knew they would never forget the terror they had experienced in that haunted place. Over the next few weeks, the teenagers tried to convince themselves that what they had experienced in the old house was just their imagination. But they couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about that place. One of the teenagers, a boy named Jack, decided to do some research on the history of the house. He went to the town library and dug through old newspapers and archives until he found what he was looking for. It turned out that the house had been built over a century ago by a wealthy family. The patriarch of the family, a man named Nathaniel, had been known for his cruel and abusive behavior towards his wife and children. Rumors had circulated that he had even locked his family up in the house for weeks on end, refusing to let them leave. One day, Nathaniel disappeared, leaving his family behind in the house. The townspeople had searched for him, but he was never found. As Jack read through the old newspaper clippings, he suddenly felt a cold breeze on the back of his neck. He turned around, but there was no one there. He shook it off and continued reading, but as he reached the end of the article, he heard a whisper in his ear. He spun around again, but still, there was no one there. Suddenly, the room grew dark, and Jack could hear the sound of footsteps getting closer and closer. He tried to run, but he couldn't move. The footsteps grew louder until they were right behind him, and he felt a cold breath on his neck. And then everything went silent. Jack was alone in the library, with nothing but the sound of his breathing to keep him company. From that day on, Jack knew that the old house was haunted by the ghost of Nathaniel, and he warned his friends never to go back there again. But even as they tried to move on with their lives, they knew that they would never be able to forget the terror they had experienced in that place. The teenagers who had survived the haunting of the old house never forgot their experience. They became obsessed with the world of horror and the supernatural. They began to share their stories with others, telling their tale of the haunted house and the terrifying ghost that haunted its halls. They soon realized that there was a whole community of people out there who shared their love of scary stories and the macabre. It wasn't long before they decided to join the YouTube channel Scary Stories, where they could share their tales of horror with the world. They told their story of the haunted house, and it quickly became one of the most popular videos on the channel. As they read through the comments on their video, they realized that there were many others out there who had experienced similar hauntings and who were looking for a community of people who shared their interest in the supernatural. The teenagers knew that they had found their calling. They continued to share their stories and their love of horror with others, and they became known as some of the best storytellers in the community. And so, they continued to haunt the halls of the old house, not as victims, but as the storytellers who brought its terrifying secrets to life.